Hey everybody, I'm Nicole. I'm one of the coaches here at Carrots and Cake, and today we are going to talk protein. We're going to talk more about why it can be a struggle to get protein. There's a few different reasons why we see this showing up with our clients, and some things that are pretty common with our ladies that we work with. I am going to follow an outline, because if I don't follow an outline, I'm going to go down a bunch of rabbit trails, and y'all will be here with me all day long. So, like I mentioned, getting enough protein can be a struggle. This is one of the biggest things that I see with a lot of our clients here. I know all of the Carrots and Cake coaches experience this, and there's a few different reasons for it. So one of them is just having a hard time like figuring out, what do I eat to get enough protein? Or sometimes it can be that maybe we're getting too much fat and carbs and we're getting full from the fat and carbs and don't have enough room for the protein. But a couple of the things that I often see is that people don't like the taste or texture of meat, or they just get that ick factor with animal protein. And I totally get that, because I fall into that category. So I have some tips and tricks to share. And then also there can be ethical issues with eating meat. I'm not sure that this is going to be, there's still going to be some really great information for you here. But as far as like testing goes and things of that nature, but for the tips and tricks, I may not have very many tips and tricks for you. I did have that as one of my issues. I used to be a vegetarian, and then I just had to get over it because I could not get healthy without getting adequate protein. Okay, so when animal protein feels icky, like you don't like the taste, you don't like the texture, it just kind of grosses you out. Like sometimes cracking open an egg just grosses me out. One of the interesting things is this can be caused from not having enough stomach acid. So if your stomach acid is low, our bodies are smart, right? We need stomach acid to digest that protein. And if we do not have the stomach acid to digest it, our body can give us like this aversion to the harder to digest foods. So some of the things that you would want to look for that is we can see that showing up on a GI map or on an HTMA. So we can see this showing up on our lab testing. Low stomach acid shows up on lab testing. Sometimes we see it because there are a lot more bacteria in people's guts, like strep, enterococcus. We can see strep and enterococcus flaring up. We can see some pathogens there, because if you think about it, stomach acid is there to help create, not just to digest food, but to create a sterile environment. And if we can't create that sterile environment and the stomach acid is low, the bacteria that's on the salad that we eat or the meat that we eat can get through to get into our intestines and kind of set up shop there. So that can create issues with that. So if you had a GI map done and you had high strep, high enterococcus, those can be some things that point to that, or high pathogens that can point to low stomach acid. Having low elastase 1. So elastase 1 is an enzyme that helps to digest protein. And if we have low stomach acid, that can impair our pancreas's ability to release that, and it can cause to like low functioning elastase 1, not digesting our protein very well. And then steatocrit. Steatocrit's another lab marker on the GI map. That is a measure of fat digestion, but it can still point to the fact that we have low stomach acid, which can tie back into we just get icky about eating meat, or don't maybe feel really well after we eat meat. So those are some of the clues if you have a GI map. Those are some of the clues that you can see on that GI map. If you don't have a GI map and you do kind of have like issues eating meat, getting a GI map done would be a really great idea. For HTMA, so HTMA, we can see a few different markers. So I know a lot of you have HTMAs that have been done with us. We can see some clues of low stomach acid or low protein absorption, impaired protein synthesis on that lab. So the first one is a inversion of your sodium potassium ratio. So that's the Na/K ratio. I know a lot of the HTMAs that I do for you guys has an inverted sodium potassium ratio. That sodium potassium ratio is our stress ratio. When we see that drop down below 2.5, it tells us that our body is struggling with stress. The more severe the inversion, the more difficult it is for our body to digest the protein, and we can actually start to catabolize our own protein in our bodies. So think of your muscles, like your skeletal muscle can even be hard. Our organs are muscles as well. So we can start to catabolize that. If your ratio is low, you want to fix that ratio. So if you had an HTMA done with us and your coach give you some recommendations on what to do for that, make sure to prioritize that. Some other indicators on an HTMA of impaired digestion of protein are phosphorus and zinc. If those are low, that can indicate, low phosphorus can indicate that we're not eating a lot of protein, or maybe we're not absorbing it, digesting and absorbing. And then low zinc can make it challenging for us to digest protein as well. So if you're concerned after hearing some of these things that you might have low stomach acid, or you just want the testing done, right now we do have applications open for one-on-one testing. I will put a link to that in the comments when I'm done. So another reason we can get the ick factor when it comes to eating meat is sensory sensitivity. So if it's like a texture thing for you, sensory sensitivity is real when it comes to eating meat. And the best thing to do there would be to mask it. So making like shredded meats, masking them. And when I say mask them, it's putting them in a salad, putting them in a casserole or bowls. Like I make a lot of like Mexi bowls, has some rice, some beans, throw some shredded chicken there. It kind of masks that texture of it. So that can be a great way to do that if you're struggling due to sensory issues with it. And then yeah, overall, if animal protein just feels ick to you, you probably need a GI map done, or to at least do further evaluation on what could be going on to be causing that. So, okay, so now I want to talk about how to actually hit your protein goal. And I'm just going to go at this meal by meal, because I know some of you don't have that ick factor. You're just like, I just can't get it in. I just can't get the protein in. So I'm just going to go meal by meal, and I'll start with breakfast. So with breakfast, it's, we recommend our clients get 30 or more grams of protein with breakfast. It's one of the meals that we find most often women are skipping. They're either intentionally intermittent fasting, or they're just skipping it because they're busy, or they're grabbing a yogurt on the way out the door. Breakfast really sets us up for the day. And one of the things that I tell my clients the most often is, their calories tend to be low in the day and more at night, and they have fatigue and brain fog. During the day, when we are working, most of us are most active during the daytime hours when we're eating the least amount. If we're not fueling ourselves during that time with nutritious food, we're going to get fatigue. We're going to get brain fog. We don't have the actual fuel that we need to get through our day and do the things that we need to do. So starts with breakfast. Breakfast is something that I struggle with all of this. I just do. I just have to find ways to make it work because it makes me feel so much better. So I have a breakfast rotation, and I'll share some of those things with you. I do recommend, if you struggle getting in a high protein, good quality breakfast, just kind of have a list on your fridge, or a mental list, or a list on your phone, like wherever it makes sense to you, of the different things, like what can I eat? You wake up and you're like, I do not want eggs again. What can I eat? So I'm just kind of read off my little list of what I have in my rotation here. So first and foremost, I drink coffee. I do drink decaf, but I drink coffee every day. I love it, but I make my coffee work for me. And I put a scoop of protein in there. I'll put collagen. I like Great Lakes Wellness collagen. One scoop has about 10 grams of protein. Paleo Valley bone broth protein, the unflavored, is another one of my favorites that has 15 grams in a scoop. It's a larger scoop. And then my husband really likes the Paleo Valley chocolate protein, the chocolate bone broth protein, in his coffee. So, my coffee, like, yes, it's like my morning routine, my comfort, but I want it to have nutrition in there to get me started. Now, coffee is not breakfast, but that extra 10 to 15 grams of protein, in addition to the rest of my breakfast, really helps give me a boost. Eggs. So one egg has 6 grams of protein. You'll hear many people say 2 eggs isn't breakfast, and that is true, because 2 eggs only has 12 grams of protein, and we're looking for 30, 35, maybe even 40 grams of protein with breakfast. So if I'm only having eggs and coffee, I'll go for 3 eggs. That gives me 18 there, plus my 15 from my coffee. 10 to 15 from my coffee gets me pretty close. If I'm going to have something like cottage cheese or sausage, which I'll get to a couple sausage brands that I do love, then I might just stick to 2 eggs, because again, eggs for me can kind of be one of those like, I can only take so many eggs. So a couple of eggs, a couple of like turkey breakfast sausages, or chicken breakfast sausages, they just tend to be higher in protein than pork sausage. Maybe a little bit of cottage cheese, and then some collagen in your coffee. That gives you a good amount of protein for your breakfast. And then just cottage cheese. So cottage cheese has 28 grams of protein per cup. technically you could have just a cup of cottage cheese and then like be on your way for the day. I wouldn't do that regularly, but I occasionally do that. I'll like slice up some strawberries, throw it in a cup of cottage cheese if I'm in a hurry, and just be like, this is good. I'm still getting my protein in. We do like to see a little more variety than that, but it works, right? Same thing with Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt, same thing would work. But with the cottage cheese, make sure you're getting a high quality cottage cheese. I hate to even tell people this, but like Good Culture is a great brand, but then my store never has Good Culture cottage cheese. You really just want to see, if you turn it over and you're seeing guar gum and cornstarch and thickeners, I'd put it back on the shelf. You want to see just like real ingredients: cream, milk, salt, cultures. Now it might be like skim milk and cream and this and that, but if it's some variation of milk, not like just milk, skim milk, cream, whole milk, whatever, salt, cultures, that's really all you want to see in a cottage cheese. Otherwise, it's just loaded up with junk that's going to potentially harm your gut health. Okay, Greek yogurt would also fit with that. So Greek yogurt has roughly like 17, 20, 25, depending on the brand, grams per cup. So you could like rotate that in there too. Have a couple eggs, some Greek yogurt, you know, some protein powder in your coffee. So breakfast meat. Breakfast meat hasn't always been my favorite, but I have found a few things that I really do like. So I have a recipe that my mama gave me for homemade turkey sausage, and I can share that link because the reason it's great is it's 99% lean. I use the 99% lean turkey, and then I do it like taco meat. I just grind it up, or like ground it up, brown it in the pan, season it, put it in 4-ounce, it's a 2-pound recipe. I put it in 4-ounce Ziploc bags, put it in the freezer. So then on the days where I'm like, I didn't cook, instead of being like, well, I guess I can't have protein, I can pull something out and I can use it for more than just breakfast sausage. Amy Lou breakfast sausages are also pretty good. The chicken ones, you can get them at Costco too, so that's a bonus. Belinsky chicken sausages are not breakfast sausage, but my daughter taught me this one. She will slice up a couple of Belinsky sausages, air fry them, put mustard on top of them, and call it breakfast. And that works. And then Applegate. Applegate's another really great brand. They have chicken and turkey sausages. They vary from 5 grams to 11 grams per serving of protein, depending on how much, depending on what kind it is and how many you're having. But if you take any of those options, add some fruit, and then like some veggies on the side, like some roasted sweet potatoes or roasted diced potatoes with some fruit, with some of those options, the protein options that add up to like 30 plus grams of protein, that's breakfast for me. So those are great options for breakfast. So for lunch, I just have leftover dinner, or the Ziploc bag of frozen breakfast turkey sausage that I have in the freezer. For dinner, I keep it simple. So for dinner, I just try to, again, I would recommend 4 to 5 ounces of protein, or maybe 5 to 6 ounces of protein. I know I can't do that. So if you're one of those people who cannot do that, I typically have 3 to 4 ounces of protein with dinner. But how I mentioned masking it, I'm usually masking it with something else. So it may have some beans in it, which is giving me a little bit more protein, a little bit of rice in it. So that combination of the beans and the rice gives us a more well-rounded protein. So, you know, I kind of stick to that, like 3 to 4 ounces of protein. You can hide it in casseroles, bowls, tacos. Like everybody loves a good taco, right? So I'll hide it in tacos. I always put like beans right in my taco meat, so that can help to boost, I mean, technically it doesn't boost the protein, but it gives you more diverse protein and just masks that flavor a little bit, or that texture a little bit different. It hides it among different textures. So yeah, for dinner, like I said, I just keep it simple. 3 to 4 ounces of meat, either in a casserole, a bowl, tacos, something along like zoodles with meat and marinara on them, something like that. Typically is the go-to. So, you know, keeping it simple. Or salad, having a salad, throwing some like diced up grilled meat or shredded meat on a salad, that can be great too. So snacks. So since I'm only eating 3 to 4 ounces of protein for my meals, and if that's the same for you, you're not really going to be hitting your protein goal with that. So I rely on my snacks to hit that protein goal. My snack that I have every day is right here. Iced coffee. It's technically not iced. It's just like cold. I don't like to put ice in it because it dilutes it. But in my iced coffee, I have 12 ounces of milk, which gives me 12 grams of protein. I have a scoop of bone broth protein powder, the Paleo Valley plain unflavored. Bone broth protein gives me 15 grams. So there I have 27 grams of protein in my iced coffee. That's a total win for me and gives that boost. So having an iced coffee, again, I'm doing decaf because, at this time of day for me, it's 12:47 p.m. I would never be drinking caffeine at this time just because my sleep is valuable and I don't want it to impact my sleep. So other good protein snacks. Hard-boiled eggs are good. Again, eggs have 6 grams of protein per egg. String cheese is another great one. String cheese has like 6 to 7 grams of protein per piece of string cheese. Greek yogurt. Here again, you want to look for a high quality, preferably, I like organic, grass-fed. You just want it to be a higher quality, ideally, but you'll still get your protein even if it's not high quality. So I already mentioned the iced coffee, protein shakes. So I like the Paleo Valley. They have a whey plus colostrum protein. I like the vanilla. They also have a chocolate. They're actually, I think they might have a salted caramel somewhere in the mix now too. I really like their whey protein. It's a great quality, high quality protein. So if you're taking a scoop of the whey protein, that's 20 grams, milk, 1 cup of milk for another 8 grams. Again, there's another 28 gram snack, 20 gram protein snack. Cottage cheese, another snack, right? Sometimes it's a meal, sometimes it's a snack. Prima protein bars. So my guilty pleasure is bite-sized Butterfingers, and my Facebook ads showed, I had a Prima ad come up and it showed this Prima salted caramel protein bar next to a Butterfinger comparing it. So they got my attention right away. And I bought them. They do not taste like a Butterfinger, but they are delicious. They're absolutely delicious. And the ingredients are squeaky clean. The ingredients are fantastic. I think they have, oh gosh, now I'm not gonna remember how much protein they have. 15-ish grams of protein. They also have 12 grams of fat, but overall, for a protein bar, it is by far the best protein bar I've ever found. I like the salted caramel flavor. It has like the texture of kind of like a good cookie dough. Anyway, there's that. And then you can also do like beef sticks. I'm, again, going back to that texture thing. If you're have issues with textures, this might be hard for you. Chomp's beef sticks, I really like. Paleo Valley, again, the Paleo Valley brand I've been talking about, they have great beef sticks. I really love Chomp's turkey pepperoni sticks, or just a bag of Applegate turkey pepperoni. The turkey pepperoni tends to have less texture, grease, fat, more protein than regular pepperoni. And the Applegate brand doesn't have the nitrates, all the preservatives and junk in it. It's just a higher quality. So even just a pouch of turkey pepperoni can be a great snack. And then I do want to add a note on the powders. I don't like to overdo any one powder. And we have to remember, powders are supplements. They're supplementing our protein intake. So we want to be getting protein from high quality whole foods, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we can supplement it. But like I said, I try not to overdo any one powder. I will use like gelatin or collagen in my morning coffee. I'll use the Paleo Valley protein in my coffee later on. If I'm having a protein shake, because I've done a workout, I'll do a whey protein shake, but I try to never do more than 1 serving of any of them in a day. Like I'll do all 3 of those, but not like 2 servings of collagen, 2 servings. I just try to rotate it, just to try to make sure I'm getting a different profile of protein. So anyway, so to wrap up, I know this is kind of getting long. To wrap up, so protein is really a big deal for our body. Oh, and actually some of you had commented that you didn't know how much protein to have. So what we typically recommend, right, perimenopause and beyond, even really in your 30s, they say like 0.8 grams per 1 pound of lean body mass. So if you're, let me get my calculator out. If you're 150 pounds, that'd be 120 grams of protein. But once we get to that perimenopause age and beyond, we're losing muscle mass. And the recommendations that I hear and adhere to are more of that 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. So if your lean body mass, that's not what you weigh right now. If you're 175 pounds, but your lean body mass is 150 pounds, try to consume 150 grams of protein a day. And if you need to work up to that, right? Like start slow, work your way up. It's, you don't have to go from where you are today to that number, but it can be helpful to just slowly, incrementally change and increase that. Some of the reasons why protein is so important, just to wrap up, protein impacts our mood, it impacts our blood sugar, impacts our blood sugar pretty significantly, especially if we don't have it in that first meal of the day. Cravings, it gives us that satiety. If we're not getting protein, our body is not getting the amino acids it needs to build what it needs to build in our body and to create those neurotransmitters and to create those enzymes and to create all the things it needs to create in our body. So it keeps making us want more food. Our body's saying, you don't have what you need. Eat more, eat more, eat more. Really what it wants is protein, but we might be giving it chips and salsa. So anyway, cravings can definitely kind of take a back seat once we start eating adequate amount of protein. And then we need it for building and maintaining muscle and for hormones. So you can improve your protein digestion and intake over time. Having a coach can really help. That's one of the things that we work up with our clients. We work with our clients every week, and we help them kind of like hone in. If they don't know what to eat, we help them kind of like guide them in the right direction to figure out what to eat. We do our weekly check-ins. So if this is something you're really struggling with and you think that you need the testing because you have some of the things I talked about earlier in this call or in this live, signing up for the one-on-one coaching might be a really great fit for you because one, you'll have the hand-holding of a coach every week for 20 weeks, and two, you'll have the lab results to see what's going on in my body. Like, is there physiological reasons that I'm struggling with this? Anyway, I will put the link to the, I'll put the links actually to the Prima bars. I'll put the links to the Paleo Valley products that I talked about. I'll put a link to the one-on-one coaching in the comments, and a link to that turkey breakfast sausage recipe that I mentioned. If you have any questions at all about anything that I talked about, please put it in the comments and I will answer you there.